All right, hi all. It's been a while. Thanks for coming on to listen to me. I think the last time I met you was in November. All right, so today I'll be sharing a little bit more on the market for 2021 and also what happened in 2020. So this would be mainly on a very macro level, something brief, a lot on the charts. I'll be showing you mainly charts and data. So if you feel a little bit overwhelmed in between, if it's too fast paced, please just feel free to rewind and watch it again. All right. The other thing also, please pardon me if I'm not looking at you directly because I'm not 100% professionally set up. All right. The camera is right here, but my iPad is below where I do my annotations. Okay. So pardon me on that. All right. Let's jump straight into it. I'll pull up my slides. I hope 2021 has been great for you. The last 6 days, it's very important to start off on a good note, right? Okay, here we go. All right, the market update, what has happened in 2020 and briefly what to look out for in 2021. Okay, so this chart shows you the different residential market segment. You have your HDB market, which is the purple color. The EC executive condominium would be the green. The blue would be the private landed or the landed housing. And then the orange would be the private non-landed. Okay, take a look at this. This is actually average PSF over the last 20 years. And every dot over here represents 3 months. This is a quarterly chart. Okay, make myself clear again. This is a quarterly chart. Every 3 months represent 1 dot. So you can see the uptick in the second half of the market for the HDB market right here, and some stabilization in the market for the EC. And of course, the condo segment, this the private sector in particular is a bit affected. I mean, this is no doubt because we're in one of the crises of our lifetime. But when you compare again with the drop, with the subprime crisis, because a lot of people compare that kind of damage, the magnitude of the crisis, they will always use the subprime crisis, the 07 global financial crisis, whatever you call it. The drop was evidently steeper than as compared to now. Actually, it's 2 different kind of crises. Like back then, it's a banking, it's a financial crisis, it's a liquidity crisis. I mean, I can go on to it. I have a big slides and discussion on the different the comparison with this crisis. But this current crisis, it's merely something that stopped us from doing things. The flow of liquidity, the flow of funds are still happening. Okay, but you can see that something is very clear over here is that there's a flight for safety during this crisis period. Why? You see the HDB market, yes, it did well in the last in the last few months or so, or last few quarters, but in 07, look at here, it also did well when the other market segment crashed. All this drop, this one the slightest drop because it's EC segment, but the HDB market registered an increase, right? So what it shows you is that during crises like this, people that are buying for own stay, the organic demand is still happening, and probably a flight to safety of something that's more affordable. They don't want to be overstretching themselves, so they buy something maybe that is cheaper in that sense. Okay, but the other thing to note also that is very unique to this current crisis is some structural change in the demand. All right, there's always two kinds of changes, right? You got your cyclical changes to demand and also your structural change. The structural change, which the most evident thing would be working from home, how this pandemic affects our lifestyle in terms of work, live, and play. Will this be something permanent moving forward? I think that's something to think about, especially when we are looking into property investment, because what works in the past 10, 20 years doesn't mean that yes, it is good evidence, good history, good references, but it doesn't represent what will happen in the future, especially when the entire context changes. Okay, so obviously working from home, the demand for residential property was a silver lining, right? Unfortunately, if you're holding to some commercial properties or commercial landlord, they won't be smiling right now. I have even got some that are sitting on the market for a very long time with no cost at all, but you still have units, the residential units that get rented out within weeks, and some even within days, especially the HDB market. Okay, so these are some of the things that's happening. I will not go all the way into details. I'll probably do a few more sharings down the road to go into that particular point and go more into details. But today is something brief. All right, so this is what has happened for the different market segment in 2020. Okay, now we look straight into this is the HDB market, and instead of the quarterly chart, this would be a monthly chart. So every dot represents every month changes. Same thing, it's a PSF over time. This is for the last 10 years, and this for the HDB market. I now further split into the different zones. We got the most prime, the CCR zone. CCR stands for Core Central Region. All right. RCR is the blue color, the light blue color one. Rest of Core Central Region, and your OCR is your outside core region. Okay, take the CCR I put down there because I just want to give you the entire market. But CCR, if you understand CCR HDB, there are very, very, very few. Probably the notable ones will be Pinnacle at Duxton and those HDBs in Cantonment and Everton. The rest, like Tanjong Pagar or even in the Bugis area, Queen Street, all these things, Bencoolen area, there are so few and they are not really representative because the volume is very thin, which I will show you over here. You can see the volume is very, very thin. Okay, as compared to the RCR and the OCR market. So a better representative of a better location, a more mature location for the HDB market, you will want to look at this RCR line. Okay, and this RCR, what does it stand for? It is your, in the west side would be your, the good locations would be your Queenstown, Redhill, Tiong Bahru, and then to your north would be the Bishan, your Thomson, your Ang Mo Kio, and towards the east would be maybe your Marine Parade area. All right, and of course the central area, you're looking at the Geylang side, Kallang Wampo, the Boon Keng area, which have a lot of new flats. Okay, then the OCR, of course, will be all the other locations. Now we want to look into this to really understand what is happening, because a lot of people was probably taken aback that suddenly the HDB market really went up. All right. Of course, in general, I mentioned just now, it's the flight to safety. That's something that's more affordable. But when you look into detail, especially this monthly chart, you realize that the OCR, yes, the pattern is strong, it's steady, there's some upwards trajectory. But this RCR side, right, you find that it is a little bit more volatile. Can you see your up and down, and the spacing between these monthly dots are very, very wide. Okay. Also take note that all these things are a bit of a lagging indicator after it has been transacted. So on the ground, I also share a bit of what is happening right now. Okay, HDB market did well because of crisis, like I say, and at the same time there was delayed launches of the BTOs, and this crisis also affected the construction period. Right, because a lot of people, if some probably even gave up on their BTOs that they're waiting for, forfeit some of the deposit that they paid, and just go straight and buy their resale HDB instead, because of family needs, immediate needs, they're moving in, they got a kid, things like that. All right, so that's the reason why the demand has been so strong. So for the OCR location, if you're in the market, you know that some locations that didn't command any cash over valuation, COV, it went up to even 50K in the last few months. All right, so this is what was happening. But as we are speaking, units on my hand, you find that there's a slight slowdown already. Okay, I can feel it also during the second phase of opening. There were a lot of inquiries, but lately for my better location one, the RCR one, you find that the viewings are lesser. All right, the viewings are lesser, the costs are lesser. and it takes a longer time to sell unless you are really, really priced right. If you want slightly over, if you're still thinking that the market is very, very hot, not really. Okay, this is in conjunction with the many BTO launches that will launch and will launch in a very, very good location. Okay, this is very, very important because what was holding up the RCR price tag and the bragging rights is this location whereby the supply is very, very limited. But moving forward, right, and even in the last few years, you see that there's a lot of empty lands around. I can give you so many examples. In the November launch, BTO launch, if I'm not wrong, there were flats on offer. There are 1,000 over flats on offer at the Bishan location, tons in the Ang Mo Kio area. All right, Kallang Whampoa, there's so many land and they're always launching on a yearly or even a quarterly basis. Even in the Geylang side, Geylang, Kallang Whampoa. And the good Clementi side, you have all the empty lands over just opposite Triding, just opposite Nan Hua Primary. So these are all creating a lot of supply, and all these supply are very dense supply. So these are not like just 20-story blocks. Some of them, like in the Dawson area, can be up to 40, 50 stories. And one time it comes on the market, there are a lot. So I feel that moving forward, this is something to take note of. This location will be affected in terms of pricing because of all the supply that's coming on board. And we have even, if you understand what's happening also, they're bringing HDBs into the better location. Of course, with all the restriction in place to control the pricing, I thought it might have a longer MOP period. We're talking about locations like the Marina Street View area. This is where we used to fly the kite and eat our steamboat. Right, that is a super duper location. And also in the golf course that they are taking back and they are transforming the Greater Southern Waterfront. So there are a lot of all these prime location HDBs that's coming up moving forward. All right, that's going to be for sale. So this is something to take note of for the HDB market. Okay, and I showed you the transaction volume just now already. Obviously, this huge dip is because of the circuit breaker whereby there's no transactions. Very hard to do any transactions. Okay, moving now would be the private market. Okay, private market, it's just now you saw the chart. The private market in general it went down. Okay, but this one again also I split it into the 3 different zones. The purple color will be the core central region, orange color will be the rest of core, and the blue color will be the OCR location. Although the drop, you can see the drop, but you see, you must always look into it in detail. And even on this level, I can tell you it's not really that detailed. Why? Because it also covers, like I say, the freehold condos, the old 99 years condo, or it can be even apartment status or a very huge 1,000, 2,000 units condo, which have different characteristics. Okay, but by and large, in general, you will see that the OCR has been very stable throughout. Never really dropped. Even though the general price index went down, you look into detail, these locations are doing well. Why is this location doing well? Because, like I say, in terms of flight to safety, affordability, but I feel also you have to give credit to the strength of the property market in general. All right, when we always want to buy property, especially when we buy overseas, I always tell my clients, hey, you got to look up for areas whereby what you are buying are also supported by the locals. That means they are also buying that same product. Okay, so you look back internally in Singapore, if you have a market in the OCR sector that is doing well, it kind of means that the locals, your Singaporeans or even your PRs, they are able to afford to buy, they're able to upgrade mostly, or you say downgrade, downsize, are still able to do all these transactions during one of the worst pandemic. It is a sign that this market, this country, property to invest in is very safe. All right, can I say so? I think with reasonable reasons to support what I say, that I think it is quite safe to put your money into property in Singapore in general, just by looking at what is happening during this pandemic and the buying patterns over here. Okay, of course the CCR is affected, the RCR is affected, but you compare the subprime crisis, it is not that bad. Look at the drops over here. Okay, even RCR got a slight uptick. This one is quarterly. Sorry, I jump in and out because I want to show you different things. That is more reflective of what is happening. Okay, there's a slight uptick over here. But CCR in general, I feel that if you are at a level whereby you can look at such product, maybe 2005 PSF to way above 3000, you talk about really finding the quality one, not those that are trying hard to be a luxury property, but they're actually not, and you can easily tell. But those that are good quality luxury property that you know that foreigners will want to buy, this is a good time to look at it, because I feel once there's more clarity towards international travel and things like that, these people will start to buy. Even now, we are seeing a lot of these buying activities from a bargain hunting point of view. Maybe some people that are able to come in or do transactions even without viewing. All right, so this is happening already. But that sector probably something that you can look at. But in general, I think if you are looking at something safe, this sector is definitely something to look at also. I think it has been the theme for the last half of last year. Something that's safe. If people are able to transact, afford a property to stay down there, it also means that your investment over there will be very safe, because you won't have too many transactions that is way below market, something like that, to spoil the entire transaction trend of your condo. All right, so this is something to take note of. All right, okay, I think I forgot to mention something. Sorry, just let me go back, because I'm just speaking off the cuff like this. I think I also mentioned just now previously about the structural change and cyclical change. This is something to take note of moving forward, and it is already happening. You can see with OCR how we work, live, and play. Is there really a need to be staying near the CBD area or near your office area, a good location, when you don't really need to travel to office to work, if that is going to be something that's quite permanent? All right, that's something to think about. And with connectivity being so advanced in Singapore, where we are literally always 10 minutes walk to any MRT station, is there a need to pay so much more for a better property? Or we can just spend maybe 5 to 10 minutes more in our traveling time just by staying somewhere further, but saving hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's something to think about, right? I'm not going to go into detail, but these are the changes in all these characteristics of the market. Some are cyclical, that you know that will come back. Some are structural, are rather permanent. Is something to take note of, because 20 years ago, you may be in the market, you know something about the market, but what is happening now might be different because of all these changes. It's just like the same, like why Nokia go out of fashion, why retail shop, why Robinson closed. Even from an investor point of view, from an investment point of view, right? There's some paradigm shift in the thinking. Is location all that important? If you've been following some of my recommendations, you understand where I'm coming from. All right, I will go more into detail, hopefully with more videos that I will put up. All right, so stay tuned for that. Do subscribe to my channel, okay? Okay, let me bring all of you back into this chart that I showed right at the start between the different segments. Okay, it's why to look at it again is I want to just let you all understand what to look out for moving forward in the second half of this year, especially when the recovery and the vaccine comes into place. I mentioned a lot about it last year already, about taxation. If you look at it, all right, you see the difference between the HDB market and the private non-lender, the condo market, last time 20 years ago. All right. Wait. Okay. 20 years ago, it's probably around 450 per square foot. Then as we move 10 years into it, you can see somewhere between here and here, your difference is probably around 800 per square feet. Right, then right now, even with the current drop of the entire private non-lender, 1,002 compared to now maybe around 1,005 compared to now around 400, maybe around 1,000, the difference of 1,001 per square feet. You can see that 20 years ago, it was very hard to upgrade. It was very easy to upgrade over here from a HDB to a condo. But moving forward, right, after time passes, right, it becomes harder and harder. Right, we are lucky in the sense that if we compare with Hong Kong, that we have a HDB market over here that to provide affordable housing over our head. And it's to know that and the fact that there's this segment in place also shows that the government will not want to control too much on the private side in terms of housing. Yes, there's some cooling measures in place because ultimately we still don't want property prices to run too ahead of our income. Okay, but again, I say the fact that we have this sector over here, and also the fact that we are a capitalist country, an open economy that is very dependent on funds flowing, foreign investment, things like that. We cannot control too much on the property side of things. So bearing all what I say, all these facts, right, I think the chances of this gap increasing down the road would be higher. So if you're somewhere on the fence thinking of upgrading, I think it's always better to do it sooner than later. That's one thing, all right, especially when pricing right now, you can see there's a drop in general over here. And if you are staying in the HDB, you're contemplating doing upgrading, you can take advantage of the slight increase in HDB pricing and a slight dip in this condo sector. But when this recover fast, and the likelihood, obviously, when you ask people in this trade, right, in this market in general, I think nobody is going to tell you that the market will crash this year. It's more of how fast and how much will it go up this year, right? So you really want to come in sooner than later. So that's one point. All right. The other point to take note of, I think, would be in terms of restructuring. Okay, the pent-up demand, most of the high volume, the immediate purchase kind of the real needs purchase that they go and purchase very fast happen in the second phase, right? But right now, probably there's a slight lull period because of the festive period and the real urgent buyers already bought. So maybe some people are still sitting on the fence, things like that, not really knowing what to do. There's an opportunity now for you to do restructuring so that you're not caught off by the market. What I mean is, if you are selling and buying, you don't want to be caught in the situation whereby you sell something, and then when you're going to buy, because property is just very illiquid in nature, the property that you're buying suddenly go up in pricing very fast. Then you're caught off guard. Now is still the time whereby it's still quite all right. I think second half the run up will be stronger in that sense. Okay, so restructuring is something that you can do. And the other thing to take note of, especially for people that are buying with tax consideration, ABSD consideration. I just want you to understand this. I mentioned this a lot last year or so, but probably everybody cannot really see it. Okay. Now the government has spent almost 100 billion last year, right, in terms of relief funds to help out in the pandemic. And you know that our government is very good in balancing the budget. In fact, always, most of the time, I would say we always have a surplus in our budget. So this 100 billion got to come from somewhere down the road in 2021, 2022, and 2023 to balance this up. Correct. Where will it come from? Obviously, this is a fiscal thing. All right. Our policy is all based on fiscal. That means it's on the spending. In terms of revenue from the government, it will come from what? Taxation. So they already spend this as a spending. They have to balance this up with a taxation so that the budget is balanced. All right. Where will this tax come from? Okay, on the layman, where will this tax come from? Okay, this is just my personal take. Okay, it's up to you to think and to think about it. But it's actually quite clear. All right. You see, is it easier to tax on the masses in the form of GST, because everything you purchase, there's the goods and services tax. Is it easier to increase the 7% to 8%, 9%, or 10%, or is it easier to get back this money through taxation on the wealth, or you call it the wealth tax? I think because of what's happening, the social political climate, right? Definitely, it is easier for money to be taken from the wealth, especially with quantitative easing that's pumping up so much cash and people making so much money from property or even stocks, right? So wealth tax, the easiest wealth tax in Singapore would be what? ABSD. All right. I'm not saying for certainty, and this is my own personal judgment. I think with the recovery coming in very strong, maybe in the second half of this year, I don't know, but if the prices really go up very, very strong, run up too fast, I don't know what are the indicators that the government is seeing. There's a high likelihood for ABSD to increase because we have to balance this one, and it's easier to tax on the wealth. Cooling measures in the last 10, 20 years, right? You can see, right, in terms of ABSD increase has never really stop the market. Yes, cool the market, but it's never really stopped the market from going upwards in general. The purple color one, sorry, the orange color one. So I think it's easier to go in that direction from the government perspective. But what it means to you, if you see, if you're upgrading and you're okay to pay the ABSD first and intend to get a refund after you sell your place, right now it's 12% for Singaporean second property, 12%. So if you increase to 13, 14, 15%, it is something more for you to spend on. So you may as well do it sooner to save on whatever increase if there is. If you're a multiple properties owner, you have always been contemplating whether to pay ABSD to buy some property. I think moving forward, looking at this gap and what's happening that I just mentioned, the likelihood, I know a lot of them are still waiting for ABSD to drop. I just can't see it dropping. All right. And if you are a first-time buyer, you are PR first time, you've got to pay the 5% now. There might be a likelihood that it goes up to 6, 7, 8%. I'm not too sure. So it makes sense for you to look at it sooner. All right. And of course, as a foreigner, if you're watching this, I think Singapore property from how many percent, the large increase 15% in 2013 to the 20% now. Even if you got to 21, 22, 23, 24, 25%, honestly, I don't think it will stop foreigners from buying. It is just part of their turnaround purchase cost. All right, so if you are looking to make a purchase, something that you should consider faster. Because if they're going to announce something like this, there will be a mad rush like what happened in 2018. And probably immediately there is some effect on the market in terms of volume. But after that, people will just get used to it and the market will just go back to normal, or just slowly go up. All right, so this is what I have for you today. I will try to go more in depth. I know it's a little bit fast, a little bit intensive. Please feel free to rewind to watch. Yes, and thank you. Please like, share, follow my channel and page. Any questions, feel free to reach out to me. All right, really different cases, got different way of looking at it. And again, this is very, very macro level. You want to look at it in a very micro perspective, please feel free to reach out to me. All right, thank you. And I wish you a very happy and awesome 2021. All right, see ya.